The sound of the door slamming shut echoed through the hallway, but it was nothing compared to the shock that followed. "I want the keys. Now," she shouted, her voice sharp and demanding. Before I could even process her words, her hand struck my face. The sting burned, more from betrayal than pain. I stumbled back, gripping the edge of the dining table for support. My daughter-in-law, my son's wife, the woman I had welcomed into our family, who I had treated as my own child, was standing there, eyes flashing with greed and audacity. The house that I had built with my own hands, where my children grew up, where I had poured decades of love, care, and memory, she thought she could claim it with a slap and a demand. I blinked, trying to steady myself, my mind racing. My son, who should have been mediating, intervening, was nowhere in sight. The audacity of her actions, it left me reeling, but it also ignited a fire inside me. This wasn't just a slap. This was a declaration. She wanted control, dominance, power over me and my home. And she had underestimated the consequences of crossing a mother who had built everything from scratch, who had patience, cunning, and moral resolve. I took a deep breath. My reaction would define the next chapter, not just for her, but for my family, my home, and the respect that had been eroded in a single, violent moment. Before this confrontation, life had been ordinary, warm, and full of routine. My son, Amir, was a good man, though sometimes naive. His wife, Farah, seemed sweet on the surface, charming, polite, attentive, but beneath it all, there were cracks I had begun to notice, subtle manipulations, moments of entitlement, and occasional snide remarks that hinted at a deeper ambition. I had trusted her, like any mother would trust a daughter-in-law, giving her space in my home, welcoming her into family traditions, and sharing stories, recipes, and even advice on raising children. But even then, small signs had begun to worry me. She lingered over discussions of property, casually commenting on what would be hers one day. She seemed too curious about finances, too interested in the house itself. At the time, I had dismissed it, hoping that I was just being overprotective. Little did I know, her patience had run out, and the day she chose to demand my house keys would mark the beginning of a battle I could not ignore. The first clue that Farah's intentions were more serious than I had imagined came weeks before the slap. She had forgotten her wallet during a visit, and I noticed she lingered in my study, eyes darting toward the documents I kept for the house. I confronted myself, perhaps I was imagining it. But over the next days, her behavior became more brazen, questions about when I would hand over the property, casual mentions of owning the place eventually, and the subtle undermining of my authority in front of the children. Even Amir seemed oblivious, laughing off her comments, telling me not to worry. But I could feel it. Something was brewing. And the day of the slap, it became undeniable. It happened quickly. She cornered me in the kitchen, her eyes blazing with entitlement. "I want the keys to the house," she demanded, her tone sharp as a knife. "Now, or else." Before I could respond, her hand struck my face. The sting burned not just on my skin, but in my heart. The betrayal cut deeper. This was a woman I had welcomed, guided, and trusted. And now she had crossed a line I never imagined she would. I realized in that instant that this wasn't a moment of impulsive rage. This was calculated. She believed that my age, my kindness, and my patience made me powerless. And that realization, more than the slap itself, ignited a determination in me I hadn't felt in years. I remained calm. Anger flashed, but I buried it under layers of composure. My plan had to be strategic, not reactionary. I began documenting her behavior, noting every confrontation, every demand, every display of entitlement. I spoke discreetly to neighbors, family friends, and my lawyer. The moment had to be recorded, the evidence preserved. Then, I set a trap. I pretended to consider her demands, allowing her to feel confident and triumphant. Meanwhile, I quietly adjusted legal paperwork, ensuring that my home's ownership and my rights were ironclad, protected from any schemes she might attempt. When she realized that her threats and manipulations were ineffective, frustration set in. The power she had assumed over me crumbled, revealing her true character to everyone who witnessed her audacity. Word spread quickly through the family and neighborhood. Farah's aggression, greed, and lack of respect became known. Friends and relatives, once neutral, now watched with understanding and, in many cases, support for me. Amir, finally realizing his wife's true intentions, began to step in, apologizing for his inattention and working to restore family harmony. Farah's attempts to claim authority over my home were legally blocked, socially condemned, and morally undermined. Weeks later, I stood in my home, feeling the quiet satisfaction of regained control. My home was safe, my family respected the boundaries I had set, and Farah's attempts at dominance had been neutralized. I had learned an invaluable lesson: patience, strategy, and moral clarity often prevail over impulsive aggression and entitlement. By remaining composed, observing, and acting decisively, I reclaimed my home, my dignity, and the respect my family deserved. Now, as I sip my tea in the peace of my restored home, I reflect on the incident. Sometimes, those we trust most may reveal intentions that surprise and hurt us. But strength comes from patience, clarity, and strategic action. Would you have had the patience to observe, plan, and reclaim your home, or would anger have clouded your judgment? Remember, dignity is your shield, strategy your sword, and patience your most powerful ally. Protect what is yours, and never underestimate the quiet, unwavering power of a mother defending her home.